Okay, so today I'm going to be demonstrating the oatmeal chocolate chip cookie. I've already measured out most of the ingredients though to make the video a little bit shorter than normal, because now that you've started cooking, you already may know how to measure some of the ingredients. One ingredient I did not measure, which I don't think we've used yet, is brown sugar. Brown sugar is going to be the one ingredient that you always pat down. And in this recipe, it calls for granulated sugar, which is regular table sugar, and it calls for a half cup of brown sugar. So you're gonna make sure you have a big enough piece of wax paper, you have a spoon. Oops, I was just supposed to take out my leveler. Don't have my leveler. So I have a big enough piece of wax paper to level over, and then I have a smaller piece because it's only a half cup. So I like to just pour it. That's why I have the big piece of wax paper. Brown sugar is very soft and it should always be packed down, and it's a one ingredient that always gets packed down. So I heaped it over, and then I'm going to go back and I'm going to grab some of the brown sugar that has fallen down. Pack it nice and tight. I'm going to go back and grab a little bit more. I'm going to grab maybe one more spoonful. Because it's a time thing, we pour it rather than we spooning it, right? Pack it down nice and tight, as always. You're gonna level off. And then when I flip it over, it should remain together. I wanna see it all together. Once I check, you could crumble it apart, or before it goes into your recipe, you would crumble it apart as well. So I believe now I have all my ingredients. It calls for a half cup of butter, which is 1 stick, a half cup of brown sugar, that is going to remain together until I've checked it. So if you want, after I've checked it, you could crumble it up. I have a 1/4 cup of granulated sugar, which is regular table sugar. I have 1 egg cracked in my custard bowl. I then have a small amount of vanilla, which is a half teaspoon. It then called for a half cup of flour, half cup of flour that I've already measured out as well. And then I have baking soda, a small amount, as well as your salt, our quick oats. The quick oats do come in a container as well. And I just poured that again over a large piece of wax paper. All right, and I want to see those piles, and then a small amount of chips. So it's a 1/4 cup with the mini morsels. If you only had the larger morsels at home, I would use a half cup. But because they're small, it's like double the amount. So here I have everything ready. You would get me to check everything, and then you would move on to your direction. So I should have my electric mixing bowl. Oh no, Mrs. Sauer's not ready again. And then, sorry, I have my medium bowl. Whoopsie. I have it on the other side of the room and I can't quite reach it. That's why we have everything out. All right, so 2 people are going to be working at the same time. So it says, in my electric mixing bowl, I'm going to cream together the butter, the brown sugar, and the granulated sugar until smooth. So that's going to be using the paddle attachment and both sugars. So that's up to you. You can take the paddle off. I'm going to go with my butter. I'm going to take my granulated sugar, and then I'm going to take my crumbled up brown sugar. Make sure that all gets into the bowl. I'm then going to put my paddle attachment on. I'm going to then lock it. And it says until smooth. So my butter was taken out about 2 hours ago, so it should be nice and soft. Yours is usually taken out at least 24 hours before you guys start the lab. And remember to clean up as you go. I'm just going to bring that over to the garbage pail. When you're in the lab, somebody else can be doing the other direction. So if I go down to number 3, it says in a medium-sized bowl, using a wooden spoon, I'm going to combine my flour, my baking soda, and my salt. So just watch where you're measuring things. If your flour was over there, you would bring your bowl to the flour rather than trying to carry the flour over to the bowl. So I now can put it all together. Because I've checked it. I have my flour. I'm going to grab my baking soda, and then I'm going to grab my salt. And it says to combine, but again, I like to clean up as I go. So I'm going to step away, and then all I do is stir this together. So this takes like 10 seconds to stir together. Some people are standing there for 10 minutes when you could be helping your group out another way, right? That's done at that point. So I've done number 1 and I've done number 3, but number 2 hasn't been done. So I have to wait for number 1. So this is nice and smooth, even on that low speed, it's nice and smooth, okay? And it's lightened up, okay, from that butter. It then says to beat in my egg and my vanilla. I don't have to take my paddle attachment off here, so I'm gonna put both in. Beat the egg and vanilla into the above mixture, so I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna make sure that egg breaks up a little bit. Bump it up to like, I've got it on a 3 right now. This would be going to my cleaner. I'm gonna bring my chips closer and my oats closer as well. Gonna bump it up a little bit more. I've done 3, which is this, and 4 says to pour the flour mixture from the medium bowl into the butter mixture into the electric mixing bowl, and I'm going to stir that until blended. Before I do that though, I'm going to scrape down the side of my bowl. So some of you still are not understanding how to scrape down that bowl. Use that straight edge on the rubber scraper to do so. I then have a piece of parchment paper over here. I could just place that. I'm going to just, I saw that something wasn't combined there, so I'm just going to put that back on. And bump it up for about 10 seconds. So this is the second cookie we'll be making, and then we will do the brownie as well. Most times when we're in the lab, we'll start with a snickerdoodle, we do the oatmeal cookie, and then we do the brownie, all from scratch. I'm gonna turn it off, that's creamed together. I'm gonna add my flour mixture. It's up to you if you wanna take the paddle attachment off. Mrs. Sauer's a little experienced and is able to do that. I'm gonna put that down, and it says to stir until blended. I'm gonna lock it. Again, I'm gonna start off at a slow speed. And then eventually I'm gonna be adding my oats and my chocolate chip. So now that I've already checked it, it can go in one pile because it's gonna be easier to put it back into my electric mixing bowl. And again, I'm probably gonna want to scrape down the sides of my bowl as well. I'm gonna do the same thing. This is the color it should be. I'm gonna scrape. I'm actually just gonna take that off for a second. I don't have to worry about getting all the batter off of my paddle attachment, because I still have to mix in my oats and my chocolate chips. I'm going the wrong way with that. All right, so I'm then gonna take, you should never put anything inside, whether it's a wooden spoon or your rubber scraper, while the mixer is going. It says mix the oats into the electric mixing bowl until the oats are combined into the batter. So you don't want any dry oats. You want them to be wet and combined in there as well. I'm gonna clean up as I go. And I may have to scrape down again. I'm gonna bump this up a little bit. And now it tells you to actually stir in the chips with your rubber scraper or your wooden spoon. So I'm going to try to take this all off. You probably could add the chips in with the paddle attachment, but sometimes it breaks up. You guys are going to use your muscles a little bit. I'm going to add those chips. I'm going to start with my wooden spoon, and you're going to just kind of stir those chips all in. Okay, remember you're going to keep the wooden spoon and the rubber scraper out to the end because they're best friends. All right, so again, if you didn't have the small morsels, I used to always make it with the bigger morsels, the regular size morsels, but I had the miniature one, right? So I used the miniature, and I just used 1/4 of a cup of the chocolate morsels rather than 1/2 of a cup, all right? So this is gonna be a sticky dough. I'm gonna put those together. I'm gonna grab a large piece of wax paper. gonna take, so I keep trying to show you this, try to scrape it all, scrape. I'm using the straight edge. I'm just gonna scrape that all. Look at this big chunk I got. And I'm just gonna put it in the middle. I'm not gonna take this off because I still have more here. I'm gonna go around here. Basically, I have everything there. And I'm gonna use my wooden spoon. I'm gonna scrape that all, because that could be one more cookie. You're gonna wrap it like a present, but you're not gonna flatten it or anything. You wanna be careful doing that, because then you don't want your wax paper sticking to your dough. So I'm gonna just fold it slightly, fold it like that present on that last fold. Just flip it over, that's it, all right? And then you're gonna put your period number and your lab number, and then we'll go with day 2. We let it chill at home, at school. At home, if you were to make this, it would go right into the oven and you would go to day 2. Okay, so here we are for day 2 of the oatmeal chocolate chip recipe. You're gonna have 2 cookie sheets. You're gonna have your dough that I took out, and it's nice and soft already, and I actually think we're gonna try to use the cookie press or the cookie dropper. I'm gonna have 2 at each lab, so 2 people will be working here at the same time. You're gonna fill it all the way, push it up against the side, and I'm not quite sure how I'm gonna go 4 across, 4 down, 3 across, 4 down, because I've never used these cookie droppers, okay? So I'm gonna fill this up. See what I'm doing? I'm just then pushing it up against the side. It's filling it up all the way. These cookies, you wanna slightly press down before they go in the oven as well. All right, so my dough is soft, making it nice and easy. Now, if you were to do this at home, you wouldn't have to refrigerate your dough. We only refrigerate our dough overnight because class is not long enough for us to do this all at the same time, right? So I'm gonna fill up both of these trays and figure out how many cookies each group should get, but you can see how quickly I'm able to use the cookie drop. You just wanna make sure that you don't get any of the wax paper. You could also put it in a container, but I don't have enough containers to use throughout the day from class to class. So if you have a container, you could put it in a container, or you could just wrap it in the wax paper. You could also even wrap it into parchment paper as well, even aluminum foil, okay? So as I'm talking, I'm not filling this up all the way. So I'm gonna fill the second one and then see how many cookies I get, and then put any extra in between. Just be patient. I turn off the video. Okay, so I used my cookie press and I made 16 and 16, oh God, 20, 32, I think. I'm not good at math. I ended up changing. So we're gonna go 4 across and 4 down. So like I said, I never used the cookie press, okay? 4 across, 4 down on both trays. You could see that they're all uniform and the same size. I do have a little bit, so I could go back and possibly add a little bit to ones that have a little bit less. You then, with this cookie, you're gonna slightly press them down. We're not smushing them, but I take my 3 fingers here and I just very slightly press them. This just, whoops, helps. I'm gonna kinda use 2 hands at the same time. And these just spread out a little bit. So the 4 across and 4 down is gonna be plenty of space for them to spread out. I couldn't think of the word, right? These are gonna go in the oven. So again, with the oven, I can't really move this. I always like to pull the bottom rack out. You have to put them in the oven like this rather than like this, because the door does not close. I like to pull the rack out first, especially on the bottom. On the top, I don't pull the rack out. I'm gonna be very careful doing this. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go 5 minutes on the timer, and then what we have to do is switch and turn our trays. So whatever's on the bottom will go on the top, whatever goes on the top goes on the bottom, and you have to turn them because of the back of the oven cooks quicker than the front of the oven, and the bottom cooks faster than the top. So we have to switch and turn them. So I'll let you see what they look like when they come out as well. Okay, so my timer is about to go off. I have about 5 seconds. I just want to show you this so you are ready when you want to do this in your own lab, okay? Because I'm very nervous when this happens. So you always want to open your door all the way. I have my 2 oven mitts on. I always like to grab the bottom first. So you're going to actually grab the rack from the middle because there's a heating element where your oven mitt can go up in flames. So I pull the rack out until I can grab it, and then I take the lip here of the pan, gonna watch my cookies, and then I turn it around in the air. I'm gonna leave that tray out. I'm gonna take the one on the top, and I'm gonna very carefully grab that and turn that. That's gonna go on the bottom. I'm gonna push it in from the middle. It's very important you're pushing it in from the middle because of the heating element. And then you're gonna put these on top, and I'm gonna go another 4 minutes. I could always add another minute, but I'm gonna play it safe, right? And then I'll show you what they look like when they come out. Okay, so the cookies just came out of the oven. I just cleaned these and put them away when I need them. They came out, and then I allowed them 2 minutes to continue to cook on the hot cookie sheet, right? Because we take them out a little early because we like these cookies to stay soft. So if you are either, I think it's a head cook or assistant cook, you will then place them here. I will tell you when to transfer them. And then remember, if I'm a righty and I have my spatula in my right hand, on my left hand is going to be an oven mitt to hold the hot cookie sheet so it doesn't move. If you didn't have the hot cookie sheet, you're gonna go to grab it and you may possibly get burned, okay? So you're gonna just take them all off. One person would be doing this and somebody would be doing the other tray. Once they're cool enough for you to transfer into your bag, because as you can see, they're still really soft, you would then transfer them into your bag and then probably transfer them into your mouth as you leave the classroom. Okay, so we got 32 cookies from this batch if you're using the cookie press. And again, if you were doing this at home, you would not have to let the cookie dough refrigerate. We only do that because there's not enough time in class. And you saw how I just moved it all over, so then all of these cookies could fit here, and then all of those are there. All right, so I'm gonna transfer them, and then maybe transfer them into somebody's mouth. Probably not mine though. All right, so oatmeal cookie, so you'll have to see if you like the snickerdoodle, which is the molded cookie, or the oatmeal chocolate chip cookie better.